to the global carbon tax collapsing at the national and international level, but not at the local level. We're winning battles, but not the war yet. But we're well on our way to exposing that fraud. I've got some other false flag terror news I want to go over, and your phone calls at 1-800-259-9231. So, Christine Ebersole, you've told the story of what happened to you. This has happened to countless other flyers. I've been screamed at. I've had them pull out our Sony cameras that a 5-year-old can tell what it is. A 3-year-old probably could. Some 2-year-olds could tell and say, what is this? It's a camera. I said, what is this? And I have, had them pull out a little shampoo bottle that even follows their specs in Billings, Montana, and start screaming at me, getting off on it. And it seems to be certain airports. You go through some, they're really nice. It's not very oppressive. You go through others, it's worse. Let's be specific. What airport did this happen to you in, and have you seen that it's worse in certain airports?
Well, of course, Chicago, because that's, really a central area for flying, international flying. I think the most flights go out of there. But this was in Burbank, Bob Hope Burbank Airport in California, Well, I think really, Alex, what I've noticed is just happening incrementally. It's like the Jews, didn't start out at the camp. They start out with the star. Then they can't go out after 6. Then they're in the ghetto. And then, it's finally leave your name on the luggage at the platform and we'll get it to you. But it doesn't happen. It's that what you were discussing earlier. It's the incremental that's happening. And I noticed that they stop using the wands and then they start using the pat down. This is like something that's been kind of recent for me, anyway.
Well, think about what a big deal this is. Naked body scanners, putting their hands on you, asking you questions, and it only gets worse and worse and worse, and it's training them. It's training the government employees that all of this is acceptable.
Yes.
And again, it's all being done by design. Where do you see this is headed? Because we know that...
Well, I think really what the hope is to sort of view this experience as nonviolent resistance. And like Rosa Parks didn't give up her seat. Don't give up your seat at the lunch counter. Know your rights. Know that we are, because the mere fact that we were created and that we live on this earth gives us rights. And we are sovereign human beings, and know your rights. And that's what we teach our children, isn't it? We tell our children, listen, don't let any strangers touch you. This is your body. And you need to protect it, and you speak out. Does that change when you become an adult? And then all of a sudden you submit yourself? It's okay to teach your children, but not for yourself. You don't have to protect yourself. So you see, that's the thing is that, that we don't understand how powerful we are as human beings. We don't understand that. And that's, if everybody went to the airport and said, I don't want you to touch me, and I'm not going through the scanners, the whole thing would collapse. But it's because we're in agreement with it, because we think we don't have any rights. I was talking to somebody in front of the line on my way back to California from San Francisco, and she was making a joke about, she knew it was ridiculous, but she was making a joke about the scanners. We'll all have to go through the scanners. I said, I'm not going through the scanners. She said, she looked at me like, we have a choice? I said, you have a choice. You are a sovereign human being. You are the supreme authority over your body. And you can say no. Unless
you're a convicted prisoner, and they're treating us like convicted prisoners, and the low-level people don't even know what they're doing. They're just as ignorant as the general public. But the globalists know exactly what they're doing, and this is a key part of their overall operation. This is a drill or a boot camp training us that all of America and all of the world is basically a giant re-education camp.
That's right. So I think it's just a matter of practicing nonviolent resistance and knowing the rights of man. It's that simple.
Well, I mean, I don't really believe in the classic term karma, but I do believe in you reap what you sow. I can't imagine, the bad mojo or whatever you want to call it, of grabbing people's genitals, rubbing people's breasts, dominating people, putting them through naked body scanners. And how as Americans or as British, this is global, or as Europeans, Will you let them take your 3-year-olds? Because now TSA has said, just like England, they are phasing it in. It will be mandatory. They're just, quote, acclimating the public. I mean, that's TSA's own words. So we're now going to put our babies in body scanners that pound us with radiation. Now they're saying, well, women may have people sew in bombs inside their breast.
Yeah.
So now we may have to have chest x-rays, which nobody doubts are cause cancer.
That's right.
I mean, what comes next? We've got to do brain surgery before you can fly to make sure there's not a bomb inside your head?
No, that's right. If you need a colonoscopy, you don't need to go to the doctor. Just go through airport security. You know, if they don't find the terrorists, they might get a couple of polyps. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So that's why we have to practice nonviolent resistance. I mean, there's a way to beat it. You know, there's a way to at least combat it. You know, at least, you know. Here's the thing. The bottom line is, after I stood up for myself, and they still, you know, touched my body, I didn't have the same residual toxic effect because I stood up for something I believe in. I didn't just lay down.
You fought back against the rape. You didn't enjoy it.
No. But I didn't. I didn't submit willfully and, you know, and feel.
Exactly. I found that when I argue with the TSA when they get out of control and put them in their place sternly, like I'm talking to my dog when it's been bad, that I then feel good. And they feel bad. But see, they're getting a good feeling off their evil. It's adding to the whole delusion that the terror threat is real and that it isn't staged. For those that don't know, it's now been in the Detroit News. It's now been in other publications. In congressional testimony, we even have the video, actually. We ought to play that. The deputy head of the State Department said we were ordered to let the underwear bomber on the plane, and he was protected. And the FBI for 2 months lied about that and had to admit later they were covering up. I mean, that whole thing was staged. In 7/7, it was a drill using government patsies who thought they were taking part in a drill. And again, we're showing video right now off the mainstream news where they put their hands under women's breast and go in circles. And I've talked to, Paul Watson's girlfriend now of many years, and she says it's painful what they do in England. She says they actually squeeze.
But why? But then, what if you said no? I won't do it. What if hundreds of people said no? Hundreds of people said no.
Well, they are saying no, and then 30 civil rights groups have sent letters to TSA and to Homeland Security. Look, it's not just that they're going to squeeze women's breasts and grab men's genitals and body scan the naked image of your children, your wife, your husband. They're going to take your pension funds. They're going to raise your taxes. They're doing it. This is a criminal group, and they're using psychology, and now we told people a year and a half ago, I'm not bragging, it's sad, that Goldman Sachs premeditatedly engineered this whole thing with the other top 6 banks and globally 10 banks, and they know what they've done, and they might get a slap on the wrist now for robbing everyone.
Well, we are obviously in the middle of a major shift. And if we can look at it in sort of a spiritual sense, that we are at the period of the rotting fruit right now. And the weight of the rotting fruit, it cannot stand on the tree, and it will eventually fall. And this is the nature and the actual physical energy of secrets and lies. They are finite and corporal like the body. Truth is infinite. But underneath the rotting fruit lies the golden seed. And if we can align ourselves with that seed and just try to buckle up, Betty, and just kind of take the ride of this shift right now, I think that we're going to come out in a golden age. I really believe that. And I think that's really the idea of standing in truth, not being afraid of yourself, being a spiritual warrior, not being afraid to speak the truth, and not being afraid of yourself. That's another thing. When we give away our power, we think that we're worthless. But it's not the darkness that we're afraid of. It's the light. It's the power of who we are in our being created in divinity. And that's what we need to just pay attention to and stand in alignment with that.
Extremely heavy. Absolutely veritas. What you've said is the truth, Christine Ebersole. And who was it, Martin Luther King, that you like to quote? That the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So
So when we stand in truth, we have the support of the universe. And that's what this shift is about. It's a shift in consciousness. And people are waking up and being able to see, like the Matrix, through the false paradigm, through the lies. And now it's happening at such rapid speed, and now it's becoming so transparent. The desperate act of those SWAT team coming after me just showed their desperation. It said nothing about me. It showed everything about this. Oh, we better go get her, and hold on to this.
Yeah, it's not about terrorism. It's about domination. It's about letting you know, hey, we're the boss.